ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 49th National President of the Navy League of the United States, Mr. Alan Kaplan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our final luncheon of Sea Space 2019. Please join me in a round of applause for the Navy Band and Color Guard for their support this afternoon. And thank you, Chaplain Varsoja, for your invocation as well. That was really meaningful. We appreciate it. So this has been a meaningful week for us at Sea Space, and it's thanks to all of you that we've had record attendance and our highest ever participation from international visitors. I can tell you last year we had 37 delegations and countries in attendance. This year we had 56, an increase of over 50%. I'd also like to take a minute. We have, I think, close to 1,000 guests here for lunch. I'd like to take a moment to congratulate the headquarters team. Michelle, your team did superb. Mike, under your leadership, our new executive director, MCPON 13. It takes a lot of work to put these events together. Let's give them a round of applause. I have a great job. I show up at these events and I deliver some remarks. They do such a great job. So we'd like to welcome our many distinguished guests here this afternoon, including our flag officers, our general officers, industry executives, and Navy League members in attendance. A special welcome to our keynote speaker, our Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable Richard Spencer. Secretary, it's an honor to be here with you today. Thank you for being here. I would also like to thank our sponsors of this luncheon, Airbus, Fincantieri Marine Group, General Atomics Aeronautical Systems, and Janes by IHS Markit. Thank you for your sponsorship. So it is now my honor to introduce our 15th Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, MCPON Smith, to introduce our keynote speaker. MCPON.
Some of my Marines making comments.
Good afternoon. Hey, that's a little bit better. All right, so we've got to get some energy going because our next speaker, the one you've all come to hear, and while we know it's the end and we hear final and we get a little bit sad, I think the speaker is going to pick us up a bit. As a 1976 graduate of Rollins College, he's spent 16 years on Wall Street, but I think we would also be most pleased to hear that he served as an H-46 pilot in the Marines. Yut? All right. So he was sworn in on the 3rd of August, 2017 as the 76th Secretary of the Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Richard Spencer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. McBon West, thank you very much. Those are the nice, short introductions that I like. Alan, thank you for your hospitality, for inviting me here. And I couldn't help but think when I was standing back there, when I heard our international head count of guests that are here, it would truly warm Secretary Mattis's heart, because if you all remember, line of effort number 2 was a bright and rich constellation of friends and allies. And we've been out there harvesting that and trying to nurture that, and I think it's coming back in spades. What we're doing together, what we're doing inter-service, and it's just great to hear the participation that we have here in this forum today. I want to take a moment and also thank the Navy League for what they're doing, what they do for our sailors and Marines on a daily basis, and what they do also in educating and delivering the message to both the American people and our board of directors up on the Hill. It's actually kind of nice to be standing in front of a set of microphones and enjoying the crowd you're looking at, but Not that I didn't enjoy it. But last week I testified in front of the House and Senate Appropriations Committees regarding our mission, our posture, in order to present a budget that we truly believe is prioritized on a strategy-driven, balanced approach, building on prior investments while sustaining the industrial base and maintaining our competitive advantage as we transition to a more cost-imposing, survivable, and affordable future force. The Department of the Navy's strategy for restoring readiness and strengthening relationships and reforming our processes has been set, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're building on that foundation with a disciplined focus on people, process, and capabilities. The analogy I use is right now, looking back on the monies that were given to us in 17 and the 18-19 budget, the weather vanes are all truly pointed in the right direction. Frustrated a bit with the velocity possibly, but every single day we're seeing increased velocity. Coming over in the car, I was kind of catching up on some business, and I can share with you that when I arrived, the mission-capable rates of the Navy Marine Corps F-18s were abysmal at best. As I got together with the air teams, I said if in fact I was the CEO and this was an airline, not only would I be fired, but the shareholders could possibly sue me for malfeasance. I'm proud to say that and superior force. And we want to be capable to dominate. And I truly mean dominate future conflicts from the seafloor to space, blue water to the littorals, mountains to desert, and also throughout the information and data domain. And we must execute this vision, and if you're in the Navy, this is not going to surprise you, as I say it all the time, with truly a sense of urgency. We have the money, we do not have the ability to buy time. We must get after this quickly. We must continually think how we should improve, and improve at the speed of relevance, so that our sailors and Marines are always prepared to deliver the fight tonight, which is their mission, and deliver the fight tonight and win. I cannot stress urgency enough amongst our uniformed members and amongst our partners that are out in the audience today. The National Defense Strategy describes our security environment as more complex and volatile than we've ever experienced in recent memory. We cannot answer this challenge under the banner of business as usual. We must be accountable for how and where we invest. We must understand the readiness and lethality that we are gaining from these investments. The Department of the Navy's ongoing focus is on speed, value, results, and partnerships. Some of our most partners are in the room today. Our goal is true partnership, and what I mean by true partnership, it's based upon the concept of shared risk produces shared rewards, where we provide industry with a clear line of sight to our needs and resources, and industry understands that our security, stability, and prosperity relies on ready and capable combat forces able to project American power, and it reacts accordingly. We must work together to provide solutions to our challenges. From my time in both the private sector and the last 22 months here, I've learned that no organization can succeed in a vacuum. We cannot do this alone. We need the support. We welcome the support of industry if we're going to increase readiness and meet the operational demands of today and tomorrow. That means expanding opportunities for our people to work alongside industry through research partnerships, through organizational constructs that generate actionable solutions in emerging areas like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, hypersonics, and the flow of industrial process in the maintenance world. It means working together to identify faster, more efficient ways to increase our capabilities through additive manufacturing, off-the-shelf solutions. It means gleaning the best practices of private sector to improve our processes, as we're currently doing through the Navy sustainment system, which is really increasing flow, and we're seeing it applicable to all our maintenance activities. I want to take a minute here to really talk about this so everyone understands what we're doing in Navy sustainment system. We picked the F-18 as a pilot program, and we brought someone from the outside who was in charge of a commercial maintenance operation for a small airline called Southwest. And we started peeling back the onion, and we found out the 5 primary degrading items that kept the F-18 out of the air. We divided those into how we were going to repair those items. We found that we could take a repair cycle from 91 days down to 14 days, and all of that was expected. But what wasn't expected was the need to redo command and control, the need to have one belly button responsible for the outcome. What wasn't expected was we didn't have the tools to really measure the outcome, and we had to develop those. What wasn't expected was as we got better at repairing the parts, we realized they had to be delivered differently. What wasn't expected was how we had to create a synthetic single DLA NAVSUP entity. What wasn't expected was how we had to get funding to the parts in a different manner. And the reason I'm bringing this up is this is not simply just marking out how we repair parts differently in a building. It's going after the whole system. And that is the way we are approaching how we're redoing the way we think. At every level, the Navy Marine Corps team must be a continual learning organization, constantly challenging assumptions to find ways to increase readiness and lethality. I know Hondo has been speaking, I spoke to you earlier, I believe, yesterday, and there was a great case, and I can't remember if he brought it up or not. I was just reading his notes. But we had an example of a weapon system that actually the fleet said, give it to us now, close to 20 months ahead of schedule. We want to start working it now, and we did it. And it's IOC'd, and it's 2 years ahead of schedule. That is the frame of mind and the attitude that we're looking to instigate throughout the fleet. We're migrating from a culture of risk eradication to one of understanding and managing risk, while in the dynamically changing the way that we will meet the demands of the force. Admiral Brown out west is doing some fascinating experimenting with the surface fleet and allowing them the ability to work their schedule and be responsible for their schedule to deliver those items that need to be rehearsed and graded and build a schedule around that to their need also. We're implementing the findings of last year's Strategic Readiness Review and the CNO's comprehensive review. And this was to correct a situation that had become prevalent in our institution, which we called the normalization of deviation. And I talked earlier just a second ago about the eradication of risk, and now we're approaching to an organization that manages risk. Deviation or normalization of deviation, the way that I explain that to folks who might not totally understand is it's basically a willow tree in a snowstorm. Little snow fell, the tree bent a little more. We said, okay, we got away with that, nothing snapped. We allowed a little more risk to come into the situation. We got away with that, nothing snapped. And the tree progresses down to the point when it does snap. We've gotten away from that. But we've gotten away from the normalization of deviation. Now we want to understand what the risk is. We'll never be able to eliminate risk. And I take that back, we can eliminate risk. We can eliminate it in 2 ways. Don't do the mission, which is unacceptable, or get risk down to 0, which I will tell you is unaffordable. So we must approach this understanding our risks and being able to manage our risks. As we look at what we did last year addressing the Readiness Reform Oversight Council, which was affecting the recommendations of both the 2 aforementioned groups, we had 111 recommendations. 91 have been adjudicated and 83 have been implemented. Some of these changes addressed immediate safety concerns, others advanced our current readiness and lethality, and the rest are focused on the long-term strength of our fleet. More importantly, and the reason I bring this up is this is a fundamental change in the approach on how we manage education of our sailors and Marines, and subsequently how we're altering the training so the fleet can get the product it needs to deliver the fight tonight. We've also reviewed, or in the process reviewing, the remediation of our business processes following our first top-to-bottom audit. It's fascinating because when I first came here, Senator McCain said, "You will provide us an auditable U.S. Navy, will you not, Mr. Spencer?" And I said, "I will, Senator. I will, Mr. Chairman," but I said, "I want to manage expectations." I said 5 to 7 years before we get a clean audit. But you should not be disappointed, because in year one, we will have an amazing learning curve, and that learning curve will continue throughout the whole audit process until we get a clean audit. That is exactly what is going on now. We are actually finding how we can use the tool of the audit to leverage lethality. We're finding parts, we're able to track parts, we're able to track resources. Commanders/managers can now see where their investments are going and how they're delivering lethality. We're using this information to streamline operations and reimagine how support functions can be modernized. It's interesting because traditionally we've been an input metric organization. How much money did you put in the system? How much money did you expend? We're now transitioning to focusing on the output metrics also. What went in? What levers were needed to deliver the most efficient output, and what was the effect of the output? We've introduced management and operational tools such as the Business Operation Plan and the Performance to Plan, which we call P2P. These are now in the hands of the fleet, and they are already showing some meaningful impact on the operational readiness of our enterprise. The American taxpayers provide us with their treasure, and they trust us to protect them from this dangerous world. We owe it to them to ensure that every single dollar that we invest is done at the most effective and efficient manner possible, and that we're buying the best readiness and the largest capacity increase that we can. We owe that to them. We owe that to them because they give us something beyond just money. They give us their loved ones, as you all know, and they're there forward to serve, and they must be equipped, trained, and commanded to the maximum of our capability so they never have to endure a fair fight. And that is my Title X primary responsibility. The Navy Marine Corps team will continue pressing forward with a sense of urgency to deliver on this vision. We'll continue to become a more agile organization. And I think the Under talked about that in his breakfast. We're looking at different ways we're addressing education in both services, because when it comes to technology, my assessment is we're probably both hands on both sides of the equation of this competitive race that we're in are probably going to have the same fundamental technology. We'll have to try to gap them in certain areas, but where we really must excel is our ability in the gray matter category, on how we fight the technologies that we own, on how we think through the strategies we own. That is where we can significantly gap our competitors. The challenges are great, but ladies and gentlemen, so are the opportunities. And with the continuing partnership of this august group here in the Navy League and all our leaders in this room, I truly believe that we can tackle the issues that we have at hand. And we can do this hand in hand. I want to thank you all for being here, and I truly look forward to enhancing our partnerships, our exchange of information for our foreign guests, our ability to train together and learn together and fight together so we can uphold the standards in which we are accustomed to living. Thank you all very much.